Namaste, everybody. Welcome to Dr. Arjun Pai Astrology channel. And I'm continuing with my series on Astro Bytes. And today, I'm going to discuss a very important topic. It's a secret code behind the exalted degrees of all the grahas based on a technique on the concept on Drekkana. Drekkana is called the third harmonic chart. It is D3. And Drekkana is associated with your courage, your free will, short travels, very particularly to your co-born or your younger sibling. It also shows you the unfolding of your karmas and the fruits of your actions, because your third house in your chart is the fifth house of your Purva Punya from the 11th house of your desires of this lifetime. So your Drekkana holds a lot of secrets. And today I'm going to discuss about how to look at the Drekkana lords, which Parashar Rishi has given in Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra, and an interpretative concept that I want to teach everybody behind the exaltation degrees of the grahas. So let's get on with today's lesson. Let me share my screen. Okay. So what is the concept that I'm going to present today? The concept is on the basis of the Drekkana lords, which Parashar Rishi has given. He has given the right to three Rishis. These are the Rishis or the sages who are the holders of the divine, spiritual, and cosmic knowledge and information. So this secret interpretation I'm going to teach you today. So let's go to the exaltation degrees of each of the grahas which are given in Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra by Parashar Rishi. So if you can observe here, you can see the exact degrees of peak exaltation which has been given are for the sun. You see it is 10 degrees of Aries. Moon, it is 3 degrees of Taurus. Mars is 28 degrees of Capricorn. Mercury is 15 degrees of Virgo. Jupiter is 5 degrees of Cancer. Venus is 27 degrees of Pisces. And Saturn is 20 degrees of Libra. So these are the positions where the grahas get into their peak exaltation. Okay. I think everybody is aware of this and you can just memorize these degrees, but I'll teach you how to interpret these degrees also what have been given. Now, most of these degrees that you are seeing have a very strong association with the Yoga Tara, which is the principal star. And most of them, when they come closer to the Yoga Tara and the principal star, that's when they go into their peak exaltation signs. So that I will cover it in another Astro Byte session. But for the time being, what I want is how to interpret these degrees in the grahas. Okay, in our last lesson, if you recollect, we had talked about the exaltation of sun. It's on the basis of the elements. We have tried to classify them. So the zodiac sign is classified into fire, earth, air, and water elements, and ether element is present in all the signs. So that's why ether is not included, but predominantly it is fire, earth, air, and water. That's what you see. Sun gets into its peak exaltation in a fiery sign of Aries and at 10 degrees of Aries. So this is what I've represented here. Is the peak exaltation degree of the sun in Aries. It's in the 10 degrees. So remember this degrees which is 10. Okay. Next, moon. The moon gets into its peak exaltation in the sign of Taurus, which is a earthy sign. So in the natural zodiac is the second sign, Taurus, and moon gets into its peak exaltation there. So moon gets into its peak exaltation at 3 degrees of Taurus. So again, I have represented that here for easy, depiction. So this can help you in understanding what I'm trying to talk about. Okay. The next planet to exalt in the order of the zodiac sign is in the fourth sign, which is Cancer. That's where Jupiter goes into its peak exaltation. And Cancer happens to be a water sign. Okay, so this is common knowledge. And you can see Jupiter goes into its peak exaltation at 5 degrees of Cancer. So just for the ease, I have shown it here and I've depicted where it gets exalted. It's in Cancer, but I'm just showing it in the Rashi where it is falling. So I'm focusing more on the degrees and not on the Rashi or the sign itself. Okay, exaltation of Mercury. Exaltation of Mercury is in Virgo, which is the natural 6th house of the zodiac, and it's an earthy sign. Okay, and Mercury gets exalted at 15 degrees of Virgo. So what I've done is I've shown you the 30 degrees of the Rashi and I've shown you where exactly it gets exalted. So if you can see between 10 degrees and 20 degrees is where it gets exalted, exactly at 15 degrees. Okay. So if you see the previous 3 grahas, which is the moon, Jupiter and sun, their peak exaltation is between 0 and 10 degrees. So this is the thought process that I want you to focus on as I teach you today. Okay, the next planet to go into its peak exaltation is Saturn in the natural 7th house of Libra. Libra happens to be an Aries sign. Okay, now Saturn goes into its peak exaltation at 20 degrees. So I have shown you, it's in the third column, I put it 20 to 30 degrees. So Saturn goes in the degree wise, it is in the 20 degrees of Libra. Okay, exaltation, which is the next exaltation planet? It's Mars, Mangal, and that gets exalted in Capricorn in the natural 10th house, and 10th house of Capricorn is a earthy sign. And Mars goes into its peak exaltation in Capricorn at 28 degrees. So again, I'm trying to show you the depiction where Mars is getting exalted degreically. So in terms of the degrees, you can see it is 28 degrees. Okay. Then finally, amongst the visible planets that we see, so the last exaltation is of Venus. Venus exalts in Pisces, which is a watery sign, and it happens in the natural 12th house or the 12th bhava of the zodiac, and that is Pisces. So Venus gets exalted at the peak exaltation is of Venus at 27 degrees of Pisces. So here is what I'm trying to show you is if you see moon, Jupiter, sun are planets which exalt between 0 degrees to 10 degrees. Between 10 degrees and 20 degrees, you see it's only Mercury who goes into its exaltation, which is 15 degrees of Virgo. And then we see the last 3 planets, which is Saturn, Venus, and Mars. They all exalt at a very high degrees, which is between 20 degrees and 30 degrees of the zodiac. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Now, here I've summarized all the exaltations of all the planets is seen here. Now, there is another concept based on the quality of the mode of the sign. And this is another concept which is a basic which everybody needs to understand. And I have put the same exaltation of the planets in the order that I have seen, and I've seen that, this is the order where you see the modes of the signs. The modes of the signs are, we have, the cardinal sign, which is called a movable sign, or in Sanskrit, we call it Chara Rashi. Then we have a Sthira Rashi, which is called Dhruva as well. So fixed sign. And then we have mutable signs, or what we call them as dual or Dvi Swabhava in Sanskrit. So this is the modes of categorization of the Rashis in three modes, which is movable or cardinal, fixed, and mutable or dual, right? So here I'm just trying to show you how the exalted grahas and in the modes of the signs they are. So you would be surprised to see all the cardinal signs. There are 4 cardinal signs. Which are the 4 cardinal signs or the movable signs? Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So all of them have a planet which is exaltation of a planet in each of them. So in Aries, it is Sun. In Cancer, it is Jupiter. In Libra, it is Saturn. And in Capricorn, it is Mars. These are the respective exaltations of the planets in the cardinal signs. In the fixed signs, out of 4 fixed signs, we have Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Out of these 4 fixed signs, Moon gets exalted in Taurus, so the rest of the 3 fixed signs are empty. There is no planet which goes into exaltation there. Then finally we come to the mutable signs, what we call them as Dviswabhava or dual. So there are only 2 planets which go into their peak exaltations in these signs. So the 4 mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And you can see that Mercury gets exalted in Virgo and Venus gets exalted in Pisces. So 2 of the dual signs are empty. There is no planets which have exaltation in these signs, which is Gemini and Sagittarius. Right. So now I'm going to teach you the concept of the lords of the modes of a Rashi and the 3 Rishis. What did sage Parashar do was he named 3 sages, and their nature emulates the mode of the quality of the signs. Again, I repeat, sage Parashar, instead of saying that these are the modes which are cardinal, fixed, and mutable, he associated them with 3 Rishis or 3 saints or sages. And their qualities are what we see with these qualities of the Rashis, the modes that we're talking about. So we have 3 Rishis here. One is called as Deva Rishi. He is the Rishi of the Devatas or the divine forces, and his name is Narada. I will say Narada is associated with the Rajoguna or Rajas Guna, the temperament. He represents largely the soul or the Atma, and he operates on the karmic plane. And he is associated mostly with the cardinal, movable, and Chara signs. So all the planets which come into the movable signs belong to sage Narada in general, I'm saying. Then Brahma Rishi Agastya. Brahma Rishi means a divine sage who comes directly under, because in the category of Rishis, we have Brahma Rishi is the highest category, then we have Maharishi, then we have, Raj Rishi. For example, Vishwamitra was called, sage Vishwamitra was a Raj Rishi, then he became a Rishi, then he became elevated to to become a Maharishi. And finally, he was the only one who was not by birth a Brahma Rishi, but who was elevated to a status of a Brahma Rishi. And he was elevated to that status by Vashishta Rishi. Okay, he was the only known Rishi who has reached the state of a Brahma Rishi. And many of the Brahma Rishis are also very strongly associated with what we call as the lineage or the Gotras, we call it. So, Brahma Rishi Agastya, and he is associated with the Sattva Guna, and his manifestations mostly happen on at the Manas level. Manas means at the mental plane level. As I said, Narada will operate more at the karmic level, at the soul level, at the Atma level. Agastya Rishi will be more at the mind level. And finally, you see the Dviswabhava or the mutable. Maharishi Durvasa has been associated with it. He represents Tamas Guna, and he shows you all the physical desires and the manifestations of the sense organs, what we call them as Indriyas, the five sense organs. So he has a control over these organs, and most of the planets which come into dual signs, somehow belong to sage Durvasa. Now, this is the classification based of the Rishis, and how I'm saying that these emulate the nature of cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs. Now, let us know more about what the qualities of these Rishis are, because if you really need to know how they emulate the modes of the qualities of the signs, which is cardinal, fixed, or mutable, we definitely need to know more about them and draw parallels from them. So, Dev Rishi Narad is supposed to be the son of the supreme creator, Lord Brahma. He is one of the 10 Prajapatis who are the progenitors and the protectors, and also have a responsibility to create and to protect all the creations of Brahma. So that's why they're called as Prajapatis, lords of the Prajas. Praja means, all the creations of Brahma. Some of the traits of Devrishi Narad is he is very popularly known to be traveling all over the universe. So he can go through all the three worlds, and he can be anywhere. He can manifest himself anywhere. So love for traveling is very much seen. He is said to be a tale teller. He loves to tell stories, and also tries to give moral of the stories through experience, through karmas. He's also said to be the first journalist, because he is the first messenger of the gods. So he's a messenger of the gods. So he brings all the messages from the Vaikunt Lok to Shiva Lok, to all the lokas that you see. He can manifest himself anywhere he wants. So that's his another thing. He can shape shift, and he can be anywhere. He's a great musician. That's why you can see, the lute is a part of his thing. He always sings the glories of Lord Vishnu, and he's a great yogi. He's a great yogi, and he is known for his bhakti, his devotion to Lord Vishnu. So he's linked to Brahma because he's the mind-born son of Brahma, and he represents the creative principle, and he's the protector of the universe. Okay. He's also said to be very witty in his in his teachings, and he always leaves a message behind for people. And people would say he's also the one who can bring a doubt in your mind, create dualisms in your mind. Okay, next is Brahma Rishi Agastya. Agastya was said to be the son of a Sapta Rishi called as Pulasya, the 7 great saints. So Pulasya was his father. Also, some of the Puranic texts also claim his birth to be with the grace of Maitra and Varuna, and his mother is said to be the Apsara, the celestial damsel, Urvashi. So that's mentioned in some of the Puranas, but popularly known as the son of sage Pulasya. And he was supposed to be born from an earthen pot. So here is the classical case of in vitro fertilization, IVF, or what we say as test tube babies. So that's why called as Kumbhaja. Ja means born from, Kumbha means the Kumbha Rashi, Aquarius, the pot. So he was also called as Kalasaja. Kalasa also means the pot, the celestial pot, or whatever we call it. So it's an earthen pot. So he's born from that. He was also called as Kumbhayoni because he was born from a womb which was made of an earthen pot. So these were the other names of him. And he's very well known for his feat that he could drink the ocean. And there is a story where, the gods were chasing the demons or the asuras, and some of the asuras had gone deep inside the ocean and had hid themselves. So just to help the devatas, he drank the entire ocean. Remember that he is the son of Varuna, the god of the oceans. So he was eager to help the devatas and he drank the entire ocean. That's when the asuras were found at the bottom of the ocean, and the devatas then fought a ferocious battle to defeat the asuras. And then Agastya Rishi had to, relieve the water back again. So a great a friend of the devatas, always fixed in his disposition, very strong-willed, very determined, ready to face challenges and to take odds, does not like to wander. And he is very much known to live a very sedentary lifestyle. He's also said to have belittled the mountain. And Agatsya, the word Agatsya also means, Agha means mountain, and Gatsya means to move. So he had the ability to even move the mountains. So it's a symbolic representation of the Vindhyas. The mountains of Vindhyas were growing so much in trying to compete with the great mountain Sumeru, and he was the one who actually brought the growth of the Vindhyas, because they were threatening to remove the light of the sunlight falling in the land. So he was a great helper, and you can see he is linked with Vishnu. So he is the Sattva Guna, and he has the maintenance and the preservation principle associated with him. And he largely controls the manas, or the mental plane. Finally, we have Maharishi Durvasa. Now, Durvasa is said to be the son of Devi Anasuya Mata, and a Saptarishi, again one of the seven great seers who protect, and the guardians of this universe. So his name is Atri, Saptarishi Atri, and Anasuya Mata. So he is known to be very temperamental, have a very traditional and orthodox behavior, very egoistic, and his stories usually show him that he can just burst out into anger, and his behavior is always about trying to curse. So his motto is to control the senses, because he's very impatient. He just looks at half the information and comes to conclusion. He is short-tempered, very temperamental tendencies, and he is the one who brings in all the tradition and the orthodox behavior. So it's about representing the desires and the abilities which can actually take us astray. So he's linked with the principle of Shiva, and Tamo Guna or Tamas Guna, and also destructive principle which Shiva brings with him. So this is the categorization of the three rishis which Parashar has named. Now, in Bharat Parashara Hora Shastra, chapter number 6, sloka number 7 and 8, Parashar Rishi also describes about Drashta Kamsha. Okay, it's also called as 1/3 of a Rashi is called as a Drash Kamsha. So Drashkona, or Drekkana is also a name that has been given. So basically what a Drekkana means, it is 3 parts of a Rashi is called a Drekkana or a Drashtakon. So the first part is 0 to 10 degrees of a Rashi, 10 degrees to 20 degrees of the Rashi, and 20 degrees to 30 degrees of a Rashi. Now, all of this the 10 degrees can be further divided into the Navamshas, the 9 amshas we are talking about. So the first 0 to 3 degrees is ruled by the Devatas, and they have the Sattva Guna. And the next 3 degrees, 20 to 6 degrees, 40 is ruled by the Manushya, which is the human behavior, which we see is controls the Rajas Guna. And then the Navamsha, the last Navamsha of the first Drekkana, we say between 0 and 10 degrees is between 6 degrees, 40 to 10 degrees. This is ruled by the Rakshasa Gana. And it's a Tamo Guna or Tamas Guna. So you can see that pattern there. And what Sage Parashar has said that these Rishis can be associated with these Drekkana. Each of a sign will have 3 Rishis associated with it. So the first 0 to 10 degrees of a Rashi, it is Deva Rishi Narad who rules. The next 10 degrees, 20 of a Rashi, it is Brahma Rishi Agastya who rules. And the next 20 degrees, 30 degrees of a Rashi is Maharishi Durvasa. Now, this is the fundamental principle, but based on the more of the quality of the sign, then they interchange. Okay, they interchange. Now, what is that interchange that has been given by Parashar Rishi in Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra? The lords of the 3 divisions of the Rashi and the 3 Rishis are in all cardinal and movable signs, which are the cardinal and movable signs. We have Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. In Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra, you follow the same, the same sequence, which is Narad, Agastya, and Durvasa. So 0 to 10 degrees, Narada is ruling. 10 degrees to 20 degrees, Agastya, and 20 degrees, 30 degrees is Durvasa. But however, when we come to the fixed sign, as I mentioned here, Agastya rules the fixed sign. Okay, so that's why the first quadrant or the first Drekkana is always given to Agastya Rishi, right? All cardinal signs and mobile signs are controlled by Narad Rishi, and that is why the first Drekkana is given to Narad Rishi for all cardinal signs. So it is a sequence that we follow here. And for all mutable signs or dual signs, which is Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, these are mutable signs. Because mutable signs is ruled by Durvasa Rishi, the first 0 to 10 degrees of mutable Rashis is given to Durvasa. The next 10 degrees, 20 of the Rashi is given to Narada. The last 20 degrees to 30 of a mutable sign is given to Agastya. So this is the table which Parashar Rishi has mentioned in Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. Now, let us try to draw from our experience of what we have seen with the degrees and knowing the cardinal signs of the exaltation signs of the grahas. Let us see if we can cull out some information. Now, we had looked at cardinal signs, and in the cardinal signs, if you remember, we have said Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars are exalted in cardinal signs. But Sun exalts at 10 degrees, so definitely he falls in the quadrant of Narada Rishi. Jupiter, which is again exalted in cardinal sign of Cancer, it falls at 5 degrees, so it falls between 0 to 10 degrees of Rashi. That's why he also, Jupiter also is associated with Narada Rishi here. Now, in the cardinal signs of Libra and Capricorn, where Saturn and Mars respectively get into their exalted position, that is Saturn gets exalted at 20 degrees. So definitely Saturn has to come under Durvasa Rishi. And Mars again has to come under Durvasa Rishi because Mars exalts at 28 degrees of Capricorn. Okay. Next, the fixed sign, if you really see, Moon is the only planet which goes exalted in a fixed sign, which is Taurus. And if you see here, Moon exalted 3 degrees, so definitely it falls under Agastya Rishi's remit. And the other thing that you see is there are two planets, which is Mercury and Venus. They have they exalt in mutable signs of Virgo and Pisces, and Mercury exalts between 10 degrees and 20 degrees, which is 15 degrees of Virgo. So that's why Mercury clearly falls under the remit of Narada Rishi. And Venus, which gets exalted at 27 degrees of Pisces in mutable sign, and it falls in the remit of Agastya Rishi. So if I have to summarize this interpretation that we have done here, I want to show you what the summary really means. So here is the summary. So when we look at the moon, which exalts at 3 degrees, it's Agastya Rishi's remit. That's what we have said here. Moon is under the Agastya Rishi. Look at this column there, and moon. So what is the quality of the moon? Moon is associated with the ocean. We knew the story of Agastya, that he drank the ocean. The ocean is very vast, so, and it is fixed. So that brings the quality of Agastya Rishi to the moon as well. So you see, Agastya is said to be calm, quiet, helpful of the devatas. He is teacher of the martial arts and spiritual practices. He is known to be the martial arts also. Why? Because he brought in Varma Kalai. Varma Kalai is a form of martial arts in the southern part of India, which is also the birth of Kallari Payattu, the form of martial arts which is followed in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So he is the teacher, and he was taught the martial arts by the son of Shiva, who is Murugan or Kartikeya or Subramanya or Skanda, whatever we call him. He taught Agastya Rishi the martial arts. And these martial arts are very, very specific because they talk about the Varma points or Marma Vidya. Marma Vidya means 108 different pressure points in the body. When they are attacked, it can really disable the person. So even this science has been taught to all people who take control of elephants. Especially they called as mahuts. They are the riders and the trainers of the elephants, and they use instruments which we call as the ankush, and they know what are the varma points that can make the elephant to subdue itself. So there are points even on the elephant's body that you can touch, or you can use an instrument to pierce, that will help the elephant to bow down or to control, and that is called the mahut, and the instrument used is called the ankush, the goad of the elephant. And many of the Agama Shastras also have come through spiritual practices through Agastya Rishi. So that's why I'm trying to show you Agastya controls moon and Venus. Now let's go to the Venus. Look at the Venus. Agastya is a very illumined personality, a very determined and strong-willed like Venus. He likes to always go against odds and accept challenges that are thrown at him. Also, Venus has a very strong quality and is associated with Nadi Shastra, the sacred scriptures that are written on leaves and that can predict your future. So Agastya Nadi is very popular in parts of Tamil Nadu in India. So again, that's a connection with Venus very strongly. Then there is a story that Agastya Rishi was asked to move towards the southern direction by the instruction of Shiva, because when Shiva and Parvati were getting married, all the devatas and everybody in the universe had come down to Kailash for solemnizing the marriage and to participate in the marriage. And the Mother Earth complained to Shiva, saying that there has been a change in balance, because a lot of weight on one side of the earth is leading it to wobble. So that's when Shiva really requested Agastya Rishi to move towards the southeast side, which is Tamil Nadu today, so that he can really balance, because Kailash is in the northern part of India. So he asked, Agastya Rishi to go and balance the earth by going into the southern direction. So most of the texts which are seen that he's written by Agastya Rishi are, Agastya Samhita or Agastya Nadis, most of them are found in Tamil because he became the part of the Tamil culture. Also, you can see problem solving is another great thing that he is always known to. And Venus brings in all of these qualities, being a very illumined planet, very determined, very strong-willed. All these qualities you can see with Venus. So basically what I'm trying to show you is the qualities of Agastya Rishi is kind of dovetailing with the qualities of the planet and their exalted degrees. Okay. The next we see is Jupiter. Jupiter exalts at 5 degrees of Cancer. Now look at the qualities of Jupiter, and we also said Narad Rishi, Dev Rishi Narad. He is about devotion. He's a yogi. He's in the tradition of bhakti. Bhakti means devotional worship and chanting mantras and singing songs in praise of the Lord. So these are the qualities of Jupiter. And doing sacred rituals and informing people about the grace of keeping certain rituals and fasts. So Devrishi Narad tells the glories of Lord, and that is Jupiter. As an advisor, he is also there as a Jupiter. So okay, then 10 degrees of Aries again comes under the remit of Narad Rishi. He is from an esteemed lineage because his father is Brahma. Sun shows, your father's lineage. It shows the paternal lineage that you are from. So he comes from a very exalted paternal lineage because he is the mind-born son of Brahma. Also, he's a Devarishi, so it's about the deities and the Devatas. He always finds ways to escape from a trap. It is like the sunlight, always shining the light and showing you the path, what is the right path. Even in times of troubles, when sun is evoked, it can always bring you solutions because it's the king of the solar system. So you can see again what it emulates. We are trying to show that the three sages influence our actions and motivations through the exalted grahas and their inherent nature, right? Next, we see the qualities of Narad Rishi and how it dovetails with or associates or kind of synchronizes with the qualities of Mercury. He is the messenger of God. So, Mercury is about communication and being a messenger. He is a tale teller. Mercury is about narrating stories and giving you a pictographical representation. Very intellectual, very witty with his with his talks. He knows when to talk and where to talk and how to talk. So this is all the intellect which Buddhi brings. Buddhi is Mercury. Okay, Buddh. So he creates also duality of the mind. If you really see, Mercury rules two dual signs. So Devrishi Narad always brings a situation where people have to really think on their feet, and he always challenges their intellect. So that brings in how he controls these three planets, which is Jupiter, Sun, and Mercury. Now let's go to the last two, which we said are, we call them malefics, Saturn and Mars. Saturn and Mars are said to be under the control of Durvasa Rishi. So now let's look at the qualities of Mars. Durvasa Rishi is supposed to be very egoistic, very temperamental tendencies. He shows impatience, he's short-tempered, he has got very destructive qualities. Everything kind of shows anger, temper, impatience. All of these are qualities of the Mars. So you can see how he controls the Mars. And then the other side, the other planet where he controls is Saturn, which exalts at 20 degrees. So what do you see here? You see his orthodox behavior. He's known for his curses. His punishments are, with half-cooked information, he punishes them very, very fast, just like Saturn, because he's a karma karaka. He is the controller of, he wants to control his senses or have control over his indriyas. So it's more to do with your desires and your abilities. And Agastya Rishi is more to do with your mind and your psychological fears and psychological programming that you see. So what I wanted to summarize here is, when we look at the exaltation of planets, there is a code behind this. The code is these three sages. And these three sages and their stories and their life experiences show how they kind of motivate you, and they give you the plan of action. And most of this can be seen from how this exalted grahas, at what degrees they are exalting. And then you see how these rishis are completely agreeing with the system of these planets, and how they show their grace, or how they show their anger, or their um, when they are in disagreement with our actions. So this is what I wanted to share with you. This is just a short video that I wanted to do to kind of tell you, what is the secret behind the exaltation degrees. And I've not come across anybody who has interpreted this. And if you want to learn more about such interpretations that I come up with, I'll be teaching them in my courses, which are coming up very soon. I do weekend courses. If you want to enroll, then please send me send me a private message with your email through my Facebook account, Dr. Arjun Pai Astrology. Or you can also send it to my Instagram, and you can send me a message on my Instagram, Dr._Arjun_Pai. So that is my ID on Instagram. So I look forward to seeing you at these courses, because I'll be discussing much more such codes. But for now, have a wonderful weekend, and namaste to everybody.